Welcome back to Bitcoin Advisor channel. My name is Chris, bringing it to you from Westlake Village, California. Starting it out here with the 5-day time frame, which will be closing today. And we've been putting a significant, or let's say a watchful eye upon this signal, the 5-day volatility momentum signal that we did say would be initiated with a volatility measurement above 20%. Or above 15 is probably good enough to do it. To me, this is good enough to do it for me. And credit to Mr. Crown for giving us the statistics on this one. But the average move as volatility expands on the 5-day time frame is about 38%. 38%. And I thought this was relatively interesting. 38% would bring us from the top. 38% brings us into right in the middle of this little consolidation here. Now, I'm leaning towards the downside, right? The bottom side of that level, right in line with the white 200 simple and the 200 exponential moving average. That looks, and I'm going to give some bullish hopium here in the short term, but that looks like a good bounce area for me. And we did talk about, the multiple drives of bearish divergence on the 5-day and the weekly time frame, which can typically result in a move at a minimum to the green 55, most likely mid-range. And where would the 50% level be? That would be right at about 43,000. What do you know? Right in the middle there, the 618 coming in here, and the value area coming in between 27 and 30. $36,000. So just something to keep our eyes upon as that 5-day closure is going to happen tonight. And by taking out this wick with a candle body, I would expect, probably a test to here at 51,530 at the very least. Now, where would I say? And by the way, something I did have wrong here. Capriola Investments, which produces the Bitcoin production cost chart, I apparently didn't update on TradingView and has basically seen the production cost, the electrical cost, which is the red line at the bottom here, come down to 46,239, which where is that in alignment with? 46,239. Again, that's probably about 38%. 46,239. Yeah, call it 36% from the high. What else would I be looking for as a bounce target? Again, where does that line up? 46.6. That's the 1618 fib. And if you look at the time taken on the 5-day volatility play, I think it's about 35 days. And, we are 30 days into this correction. So for the next 5 days, as Crown is saying, you'd expect this move to, really start to get going, I would suppose. Bitcoin should have bounced here relatively strong today, but it did not. We did get somewhat of a bounce, but nothing significant to say the least. And, it does look like the threat of a bounce up to, perhaps, even as high as, 68,000 is not out of the cards yet. And in fact, if we do reclaim this level on a daily time frame above $60,000, I would at least look for a shot to the mid-range and possibly the top side of the range, which is that $68,000 level. And a lot can happen, but why is that? This is the 1-month liquidity chart on Hyblock Capital. If you're interested in getting these charts, there's a link in the description below. You can see here 67,000. There's a lot of liquidity up there, much more liquidity to the upside at the moment than to the downside. But let's look at that was a 1-month liquidity chart. Let's take a look at the 3-month. The 3-month chart, liquidation heat map, that's what I want. And Bitcoin, go all exchanges, and let's look at the 3-month. and see if we can find a bit more liquidity to the downside for perhaps another swipe. So we just swiped this liquidity. You're going to see all the stop losses, all the people that are short here are, stop losses are layered in, and there is the potential for a bit of a short squeeze. Again, that would take us all the way up to 70, call it $72,000 to the upside with the short-term stop probably at that 67,400 level. So the question is, do they want to swipe it down one more time, down to $50,000 and then bounce it up? I think is the question that comes to mind. And I guess we should take a look at the daily time frame for that and see volatility is expanding as the stochastic is crossed to the downside. So momentum is still to the downside on the daily time frame. You do have a bit of a daily downtrend, and this was the lower high we were watching out for just a few days ago before the holidays. We were saying, hey, look, here's the range to the upside and the downside. And we broke the range to the downside, but more importantly, we made this lower low. We had an inverted head and shoulders pinned out. And I'm interested to actually see that again here really quick. I can see it right now. We were looking for that move to the upside. And then your shoulder, okay, we broke it, and we were looking for a bit deeper of a target. I guess using this as the neckline, maybe we did hit. Let me just see, and there's a reason why I'm taking a look at this, but calling the breakout right here, we did not hit the target. Yep, and we said invalidation would be a closure below the shoulder. And where does the invalidation move take you down to? What do you know? $50,000. So when you closed back below the shoulder, that initiated the basically the inverse to the inverse head and shoulders, right? We were expecting this to resolve to the upside. We're resolving it to the downside. Momentum is down on the daily, on the 5-day. And let's see what the weekly says. Weekly is also down as volatility is just beginning to lift off, which could give us a bit of a deeper correction. And, I think it's the healthier option, as I've been saying. If we wanted a more long-term bull market, we wanted the prices to pull back first and then start to, move higher, not just rocket off to the moon right away. I know that sounds fun, but for a more prolonged bull market, I think that was the necessary of the two evils, and so to speak. And what else I want to bring up here? Just underlying market dynamics. What do we have going on? Well, the fear and greed index coming in at a 28, which it's at area where you would expect some lows to start to get put in. When people are extremely fearful, that's the time to be greedy. The spot ETF had positive inflows today, which is positive on a positive note. For Monday, those are typically when you see those inflow days. So Tuesday is the most red day, coming in with an average loss of about 2.78%. So we could take a look at the daily closure today, which is going to close, in another 4 hours. So a lot can happen over the next 4 hours. In fact, it looks like we're trying to put in a bit of a bounce here. But as long as we're closing 4 hours below 58,151, shorter term time frame trend is down, lower highs and lower lows. Okay. Bringing up the next point. So fear and greed index is low. ETF inflows. Oh yeah, we said daily. The daily 2.5% to the downside. Let's say the market closed here today. That would just be revisiting this wick. So, what do the market makers typically like to do? They want to line up a liquidation event, a liquidation event surrounding some kind of a major news event. And what do we have on the economic calendar coming up this week? Tomorrow, we've got Fed Chair Powell testimony. That looks like the 9th and the 10th. And then we've got jobless claims coming up on Wednesday, or is that Thursday? Yeah, that is Thursday. Jobless claims, inflation, CPI. That's the day to put on the calendar, I think. PPI month over month. And yeah, and Michigan consumer sentiment coming out on Friday as well. So just quickly checking in on the stock market, making new all-time highs again today. When or if we do see this thing ever start to turn around, put the warning lights on for Bitcoin, and you are going to get a few drives of bearish divergence coming back from the highs over here. So if we do confirm this as a local high by closing below that last daily or 4-hour low, I'd expect a run back to support here, coming in at $20,500. So NASDAQ still looking strong. What else did we want to take a look at as well is open interest here on the hourly. Wanted to see if we could catch wind here. As open interest starts to go up, whichever way the price goes, you'd expect essentially the market to move in that direction. So if open interest starts to go up and price is going down, we'll expect more down. If open interest starts to go up and price starts to go up, well, let's look at a revisit to maybe 63,000, 64,000. Currently coming in at 56,498 for Bitcoin. And let's see. So 5-day volatility. We talked about that. The 5-day closure today, and will remain down below 66,000. So the next 5 days closure is going to be very important. If we can flip momentum back to the upside, back above 60,000 bucks, that would look very, very good for a higher low off the green 55. So a lot can happen over the next week or two. I think it is important to kind of decide what your strategy is going to be, whether it's long-term accumulation or kind of swing trading or looking at the altcoins. But things are going to be what I would deem as on sale at this point. If we come down to production cost at 46,239, I don't see how electricity is getting any cheaper here, inflation getting any cheaper, and I think I'm going to leave us off with all of that today. Shorter term, let's see if we see any other bounce reasons. And I was just looking at this green box here is kind of the weekend trap. So what are trap traders doing over the weekend? Essentially, if you went long over the weekend, well, they took you out this morning. You went long again here, they took it out again. So maybe this is the time where we pick it up one more time, and people are net short on Bitcoin. So shorts getting liquidated pushes price higher first and then lower. So we'll have to just see how this plays out. Again, Tuesday's considered one of the most down days for Bitcoin. I think the average loss on Tuesday is about 2.5%. So where would that take us? Let's say we close the day around that green 55. 2.5% to the downside would just be revisiting the low. So nothing too damaging there. I think the news event will come around Thursday, right? So Thursday is that jobless claims inflation report. Want to be keeping an eye on the interest rate calculator. Just quickly, I'll peek in on that. The Fed interest rate, not the funding rates. And I think funding rates actually went slightly negative for the first time in a very long time. Also, typically an area where you're going to get a bounce when funding rates begin to go negative. We'll take a look at that in just a second. So 93% chance that we are going to stay the same coming up on July 31st. And then we will have a skip in August and back in September. Doesn't look like a rate cut in September yet either. So keeping a close eye on that as well. And all right, I'm going to leave you guys off with that. Tomorrow, just revisiting kind of like the topic of the day, right, is, don't fight the daily downtrend, right? So how would we reverse that daily downtrend is we got to make a higher high and a higher low, right? So we're going to have to take out 64,000. And then that's where you can start to, postulate a bit of a trend reversal on the daily time frame. And yep, so we'll keep a close eye on that. I will see you guys in the next one. Have yourself a blessed and highly favored day. Take care.